Hi. Earlier this week, FE CashCalc released a new feature for those of you that have seen the pop-up. It's survivor analysis. So I thought it would be a good idea to whip together a quick video just to help you get started in using this new functionality. So I've got here an example client, Gavin and Stacey. Their cash flow at present is looking relatively healthy. I'll just work my way through to give you an overview. They both have some cash savings. They equally both have ISAs. They have one pension, which is Gavin's, and they also have two state pensions that'll be kicking in a bit later on. Gavin is currently the only one working, and their expenditure is pretty much meeting their income levels. So if we look at the graphs, we've got a steady increase to their assets during the working period of the client's lives. And then if we hop over to the money in, money out, we can see their income here is pretty much matching that expenditure. And then later on, two state pensions, and they are there spending their assets to meet that shortfall. To use this feature, first create a clone of your original forecast and apply the new feature in that clone rather than on the original forecast itself. If I create a clone and call this survivor analysis, cloning my current situation and click create. Now, the only thing I need to do to get this going is to hop over to inputs and timeline, head to the timeline and drop a mortality event on there. We can then choose who we want to apply the mortality event for, in this case, Gavin. And if there is any life insurance payout, in this case, there is, let's put 75,000. CashCalc will then ask, well, what about the rest of Gavin's assets? What happens to them at the point of this mortality event? So we're setting up the beneficiaries here. In this case, all assets will be transferred to his wife, but you can choose other. CashCalc will then give a warning. Are you sure you want to continue? Part of the reason why I suggest creating this or using this feature in a clone is that it cannot then be undone once applied. So yes, I am sure I want to continue. CashCalc has now created a few inputs for me. So to show you what those are, if I hop over to savings and investments, we've got two extra pots that have just been created. These are for the insurance payout and for the transfer of Gavin's ISA. Currently empty, but they will receive that money at the point of the mortality event. The same has been done for the pension. We've got a second inherited pension from Gavin to Stacey at the point of the mortality event. And if we hop over to the yearly breakdown, we'll also be able to see a few key insights here. So we've got a sort of flag telling us that something's going on there. That is, of course, the mortality event itself. But if we hop into liquid assets, we can see how CashCalc is treating this transfer, I suppose. So if we take his pension, for example, we have the transfer out, and then further down, inherited from Gavin, we have the transfer in here. We can also see that insurance payable on death, that has also been added into that pot. Now, if we look at the actual cash flow itself, we've also stopped the state pension where that mortality event sits. And we can also quite clearly in the savings over time graph see the effects of the pension transferring. It's less relevant on my ISAs down here because they're mostly spent before that retirement, before that mortality event. But we have here Gavin's pension and then post-mortality event inherited from Gavin's pension. A few other things we can do then is we can move this mortality event and see the effects of death at different points. So if I wanted to push that back, it will run that. And that feeds through into the cash flow forecast. So thank you so much and take care.